We only have a limited amount of time because on this particular day, he has an appointment with his broker to take care of all of his cash. That is Nate Bauer from On3.com.
I got to catch up with the one guy who fills my week with news, young Shrewsbury.
There you go. I understand that. Yes, young Shrewsbury. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes, we'll make sure you get that news coming up because they've got Minnesota on Wednesday night. You watched it yesterday. No Seth Lundy in the game. What did you think about how Penn State reacted?
Yeah, I mean, two things. It matters, right? Like that's the first thing. is in a game that Penn State lost by 5, and couldn't really get much of anything going offensively, not for a lack of open shots, but because those open shots did not go in.
Yep.
That's where one of your better shooters makes a difference. And so, I think that the game has to be viewed in that context of it's just, I think too often we kind of gloss over personnel absences, and that's one that you really can't do that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, obviously, is they played their grinding style to perfection.
Yeah.
Right? Like they have really dialed in defensively what they want to do, how they want to dictate the pace of the game. I think that they're going to give themselves a chance in all of these games if they can execute that. And that's what they were able to do yesterday.
Yeah. It's interesting in that game, you start looking at it, and even though they were behind the entire time, the last 5:52 of the first half, Ohio State didn't hit a shot. The last 5:02 of the game, Ohio State didn't hit a shot. You're talking about 11 minutes of the game, the end of the first half, the end of the game, where Ohio State didn't hit a single shot.
Yep. But was at the free throw line. And
right.
So,
exactly.
There's this combination of, if Ohio State can get its points at the free throw line, that's enough of an issue on its own. But it's compounded when you have empty possessions offensively.
No doubt.
Which is what Penn State did. We have message board threads that we do during games, and I was joking, but also with a tinge of sincerity. With 3:50 to play, they were down 4. And I made a joke. I said, Penn State's going to have to score 5 more points than Ohio State the rest of the way
right.
if it wants to win. And guess what? They didn't.
Right.
They didn't, right? Ohio State closed those last 4 minutes with one more point than Penn State. And, it was a combination of a Sam Sessoms turnover, an untimely foul, like you name it. The things that transpired at Northwestern down the stretch, Penn State couldn't do on Sunday. And that tends to be the difference in those types of games.
Yeah, in fact, Penn State committed 25 fouls in the game. 10 were against E.J. Liddell. That's 40% of the fouls. Now, he also handles the ball 40% of the time for Ohio State. And he didn't have a great day at the line, but that's the kind of attention he draws. And I think, as Micah said, there are a couple times too many. He felt Penn State went for ill-advised steals when they shouldn't have.
Yep. Well, and again, Steve, who covers E.J. Liddell in the first matchup?
It was Seth Lundy.
Mm-hmm. And E.J. Liddell didn't have a great game in that first matchup.
No, he did not.
So, I mean, I think that the point that Shrewsbury has made, and they've social mediaized it a little bit in the time since, is Lundy has often gotten the best player on opposing teams through the course of the season, right, and has done an excellent job. It is an underrated part of his game. And so when you don't have a piece like that, who is, really as integral as he is to limiting opponents, whether it's open shots or not fouling, that's an important piece that Penn State didn't have.
Right. and they've got Minnesota next. Minnesota went through some of the same yesterday. Curry was out with an injury. A couple other guys were out for other reasons yesterday. They lost by 10 to Iowa, and it looked like Patrick McCaffrey played, but his brother didn't. I mean, so you're looking every day to see who's in and who's out, but they lost by 10 yesterday. For Penn State, this is something we've talked about before, but I mean, the bottom line is, you have to keep winning home games, see if you can steal another one on the road.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I was literally just talking about this. This is the game that Penn State, it can go either way,
yep.
But Penn State has to win, right? Like the 6:30 p.m. Big Ten Network game that no one cares about against two teams or two programs that were anticipated or expected to not do a whole lot this season. Like, you gotta hold serve. And so that it is tremendously important that, one, they win, but two, that Seth Lundy is a part of that.
Right.
Like, it all of a sudden becomes very, very important what the extent of his absence is based on, protocols and what have you, right? I mean, all of those things are going to come into play here. And if he's available, I think it changes the dynamic of what the expectations are pretty significantly.
I can't believe you make a statement about nobody cares about. What's next, Nate? I mean, you're going to tell me they're just going to give a team one Saturday home game when the students aren't there? Is that the next thing you're going to say? Or are you going to say that they got to play on a Thursday at midnight and have to come back and play on a Saturday at noon? I mean, what are you saying here, Nate?
I would never go so far.
I would never throw out those scenarios. I've never lived them in my life.
Never. Look, there was a time in my career, and I'm sure you can attest to the same, where things like that kind of breeze past you. You don't notice them. They're just, it kind of is what it is. Oh, okay. But after 17 years, there are trends involved, and the trends, and I'm not even sure that anybody denies it, is, look, like, when this is your status as a program, a traditionally underperforming, losing program, this is where they put you, right? You have to be, like, the Big Ten contract is that you have to be on ESPN twice, and so to knock that out of the way, they put Penn State Northwestern because both programs stink. I've never noticed that. I'm sure. I'm sure I may have lived it, but no, I've never noticed it. All right. Have I ever pointed on the show? I don't know, Matt. Maybe I get passing. Okay. This is the last day you declare for the NFL draft, I do believe. It's 1 week after the national championship game. So who are you waiting on right now to see as to, where they play or go? Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think certainly for Penn State, there would be questions for Mike Miranda. I don't know that he has put out a statement one way or another. I don't think Cam Sullivan-Brown look, we're not talking about superstars here, but they are guys who probably would at least pursue that opportunity, right? If it was something in front of them. So those are two of the bigger guys. Is there somebody that I'm missing in terms of fifth year guys?
Yeah. I guess technically Pinniger.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm just saying. Yeah, but believe it or not, I believe with the COVID rules, you do have to declare whether or not you're coming back. I believe you do.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not clear on that. Yeah.
Because remember last year, guys were declaring I'm coming back on that because I think the NFL wanted you to say out loud whether you're in or you're out.
Yeah. Well, no, it's we've been kind of following it, and you Fred Hansard, I don't think has had a statement.
No.
But they're kind of guys who have been in the program for a while and have gotten reps. These are guys who have played. It's just a question of, I think that this is fair to say without hurting anybody's feelings. Like, this isn't a one-sided decision, right? It is not just for the player to decide whether or not they want to come back. It's whether or not Penn State, feels as though it has the roster flexibility to maintain that, right? To keep that person around. So, yeah, no, it's going to get there. It's going to get there. I don't know exactly what the timelines are, but certainly there will start to be some clarifications in terms of the overwhelming amount of Penn State scholarship athletes for next season.
Did Noah Cain surprise you in any way, and did it surprise you in any way that within minutes it was LSU?
Yeah, so a little, right? I think that he certainly had some signs on the wall, right, that things would continue to be difficult for him to really assert himself, and not with a lack of opportunities, right? I mean, he was the first running back at the start of the season, really kind of held onto that role even through, coming back from that injury and then getting re-injured.
Right.
I mean, it's just a tough situation because I think for him, very clearly, you want to regain that status of what he was as a true freshman. But is the opportunity going to be there when a Kevon Lee and a Nick Singleton and a Katron Allen are all still in that room? And, certainly I think the combination of those things, it made sense.
And still Keziah Holmes, too. And Devin Ford.
Exactly. It's an interesting room because you knew, like, you can't have six, right? Like, you can't have six scholarship running backs. It's too many. Even four is maybe a little bit more of a sweet spot. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out next season.
I cannot be the one responsible for keeping you away from young Shrewsbury.
Yeah, I gotta log on. It's Zoom time.
And you Zoom away. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Steve.